Update. Am I the a-hole for calling my friend a hypocrite when he told me the reason he filed for divorce? Original post. Last night I met up with some friends I hadn't seen in a long time. Let's call them Chad and Kyle. We were drinking, chatting, and having fun, and all of a sudden, the mood changed. Somehow the topic turned to Chad's recently finalized divorce. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was unaware he was getting a divorce. When I asked him why they got divorced, the conversation, as I remember it, went something like this. Chad, she cheated on me. Me, trying to stifle a laugh. You're serious? You, of all people? You cheated on her with multiple people over the years. And when she does the same, you divorce her? Chad, it's not the cheating. It's the lack of respect. I made sure to respect her, so she never knew about my cheating. But she couldn't give me that same respect. Me, that's not respect. That's your ability to hide your cheating versus hers. Respect would be not cheating on her. Chad, so you're saying what she did is all right? Me, no, I'm not. I'm saying you, the serial cheater, are a hypocrite for immediately divorcing her for cheating. Somehow Kyle got us to calm down and change the subject. When I got up to take a leak, they went back to the topic. I came back, and they were talking about why Chad thought it was okay for him to cheat. In his mind, the cheating was good for the sex life with his now ex-wife and their marriage. Some things he said were, if you have sex outside, you'll work harder in bed with your wife. Sex in a marriage gets boring, so if I go get some excitement outside, I can work on the rest of the marriage. I kept making remarks like, I bet she thought the same when she did it. Apparently, I wouldn't understand because I'm not married. But I don't have to be married to understand loyalty and respect. Kyle is married and has said he's in a bit of a slump with his wife. While my advice is to do something new and interesting with his wife, Chad is explaining why his cheating worked to make his marriage exciting. No, I don't condone what Chad's wife did, but I do think he's a hypocrite for divorcing his wife for cheating when he is a serial cheater. I don't know Chad's ex-wife. I've only met her twice, but knowing him, she's better off without him. When we left, I told Kyle, if you want your wife to divorce you and get majority custody of your son, you should listen to Chad. Anyway, I'm going to the kitchen now. I promised my Lexi I would make a shepherd's pie today. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, but why are you still friends with a cheater? He knew you knew about the cheating. He probably thought you were okay with it on some level. Not only is he not sorry for what he did, he defends it. Why see this POS at all? Why do you care what he thinks? His cheating character is the reason I haven't seen him in a long time. Also, the reason friend is in quotation marks in the title. He knew I was never okay with his cheating. Also, the reason why he kept a distance from me. Meeting last night was because of Kyle. Tell Kyle's wife that Chad is telling him to cheat on her so she can decide whether or not they want Chad in their life anymore. While I understand where you are coming from, this is not a good idea. Currently, Kyle is just talking to try to reignite the marriage. He is not doing anything wrong. Kyle is not a cheater, but I know he looks up to Chad. So I'm talking to him, steering him away from the cheater's path. If I tell his wife now, I'm planting a seed of doubt in her mind. That will not end well. His cheating character is the reason I haven't seen him in a long time. Also the reason friend is in quotation marks in the title. He knew I was never okay with his cheating. Also the reason why he kept a distance from me. OP, you didn't want to do the honorable thing and tell the cheater's wife. You've made yourself look heroic with your tale of calling out the cheater when it really didn't matter anymore, when you could have done something much earlier by disclosing to the wife. You want a timeline? Chad and I used to be friends in our teens and 20s. I've distanced myself from Chad for 15 years now. Chad got married about 12 years ago. In those 12 years, I met the now ex-wife twice. I wouldn't be able to pick her out of a lineup. How do I know Chad cheated? Because I ran into him at numerous work events, and he kept bragging about the different women he had. And I kept calling him a POS. How do you think I should have talked to the wife? You don't know me, but I was a friend of your husband years ago. I just want to tell you he's cheating on you. Do you think she would listen to a stranger? It's easy to say, you should have told the wife, but in reality, it's not that easy to say something they don't want to hear. Now for the update 8 months later. Not necessarily an update of the situation, just an update on the people involved. Not long after the post, Kyle distanced himself from Chad. He said Chad was pushing him in a direction he didn't want to go, so he stepped back. Kyle is a nice guy, and we've become closer friends. He listened to some friends about how to spice up his relationship with his wife, and it worked. They are expecting a second child. Kyle hopes it's a girl. Kyle wanted to do one more thing before having a second child. He wanted a ride with his boys. So this weekend, we are renting a few hogs and going on a ride. He invited 6 friends, and I've added 2 more experienced riders. He's calling it the bachelor party he never had. The girlfriends and wives of the riders are having their own party that weekend. About Chad, I haven't seen him since that post. I've heard some rumors, none of them good. A few days ago, I heard what happened to him. About a month ago, Chad was shot and killed. I only just found out, so obviously I didn't go to the funeral. Kyle was also not aware this had happened. Chad was sleeping with a married woman. She was married to someone with a very short fuse and access to guns. I don't know what happened to that woman, but the guy who shot Chad is currently awaiting trial. So that's the update. I'm going to get ready for the weekend. Because we have a lot of inexperienced riders, this will be a non-alcoholic weekend. Wow, Chad was kinda crazy. R.I.P. Chad. Oh no, consequences. Well, Chad clearly wasn't a wise individual. Legit, if I was on the jury for that trial, you couldn't beat a guilty verdict out of me. How weird to be so flippant about a supposed friend of yours getting murdered. We haven't been friends for years. Last time I saw him was 8 months ago. Before that was, I think, 5 years ago. So I'm not devastated he was shot. He wasn't a friend of mine anymore. Whatever helps you sleep at night. I'm sleeping fine. It looks like you're the one having a problem with it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking back a gift basket I made for my pregnant friend after finding who the father of her baby is? My 22 female friend, who is the same age as me, recently found out that she's pregnant. She was quite distraught at first since she's not ready for this big of a jump, and she's not sure if the father would commit to her and the baby. We've been friends since high school, and I honestly wanted to be there for her as much as I could, so I made her a little gift basket. She's not very far along, so I just made a basket with a bunch of gifts for her, including some sweet treats, a card, and merchandise from her favorite show. I also added some baby clothes in neutral colors, a baby hat, and some other baby stuff. I came over to her place and she was elated when I gave it to her. She thanked me for helping her through a tough time, and I told her that I'm happy to help her anytime. Well, I was happy to help her until a mutual friend told me she saw her and my ex walking hand in hand after coming from a scan. I asked around a million times if she was sure, and then she showed me a picture my friend had posted on her private Instagram of her and my ex, with a caption saying they can't wait to meet their beautiful baby. If this were another ex of mine, I wouldn't have minded. But the ex she got pregnant by was incredibly abusive. He gave me a black eye, slashed my car tires, and stalked me. He even messaged my dad, asking him if I'd get back with him. My friend knew all of this. She saw the effect it had on my mental health and how it caused me to fear getting into another relationship. Yet she went behind my back and got herself knocked up by an abusive deadbeat. When I saw the pictures, I knew I'd never be friends with her again, and I was fine with that. I'd rather have toxic people out of my life. But one thing I couldn't get over was the money I spent on that basket. So I went over to her place and her sister let me in. I went to her room, took the basket and what items with it I could find, and left a note in its place. It was so embarrassing because I had to run through the back door to avoid being seen, and this whole thing feels immature. Anyway, in the note, I wrote how I felt about her betrayal and told her I wish all the best for her child. That's being brought into the world by an abusive deadbeat and someone who has no loyalty to her friends. I may have phrased that a little differently. I've blocked her everywhere, so I don't know her reaction. I feel like I should have been more civil and gone no contact without an explanation. I don't know if this is a very a-hole situation, but regardless, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Unblock her though. My TV is on the blink and I need the entertainment. My siblings keep telling me to unblock her, but I just don't want to hear her make excuses. However, I also want to see her crash out because knowing her, she's going crazy right now. Was it petty? Sure was. Was it justified? Sure was. It would have been a much cleaner break if you just washed your hands of it, but all you have to do to explain yourself is as follows. Tell people that the father of her child stalked you and physically assaulted you in the past, and that you didn't want anything with your name anywhere near this man because you don't want to give him any excuse to start stalking you again. So you removed any trace of your existence from her home and cut her off completely. And that anyone who chooses to stay in her life, knowing the father of her child is your stalker, will be cut off too. Not the a-hole because she knew and hid it from you. That's just dirty. I don't blame you at all, but I will say you should have left the gift and blocked her from everything, so she knows you know. Then every time she sees that basket, she will feel like crap. When he hits her and she sees that basket, it will hurt more. Or she could have replaced the items in the basket with ice packs, band-aids, and a t-shirt that says, "But he apologized and promised to never do it again." Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex to stop calling me in the middle of the night for non-emergencies with the baby? I, 19 male, have a 10-month-old son with my ex-girlfriend, 20 female. We broke up shortly after our son was born, but we've been trying to co-parent as best as we can. I have my son for 3 days out of the week, while my ex has him the rest of the time because I work full-time to support myself and pay child support. The issue is, my ex has been calling me almost every night, claiming there's some sort of emergency with the baby. At first I would answer immediately and even drive over to her place if she sounded panicked. But after a few weeks, I started noticing a pattern. None of these emergencies were actually serious. One time she called me at 2 a.m. because the baby was crying and she didn't know what to do. Another time, it was because she ran out of formula, even though I had bought her a bulk supply the week before. Most recently, she called me because he had a mild fever, but when I suggested she give him infant Tylenol, she said she didn't have any and expected me to bring some over immediately. I'm exhausted. I wake up at 4 in the morning every day. After the last call, I told her she needed to stop calling me in the middle of the night unless it was a real emergency. I said if she felt overwhelmed, she could call her mom or take him to the doctor, but she couldn't keep relying on me to drop everything. She blew up at me, saying I was being selfish and that as the father, I should always be there for our son. She accused me of not caring about her struggles as a single mom and claimed I was making her feel unsupported. I told her I would always be there for our son in a genuine emergency, but she needs to learn how to handle the day-to-day stuff on her own. Now she's been cold and distant, and some mutual friends think I was out of line for telling her to stop calling, saying I don't understand how hard it is to raise a baby full-time. So, am I the a-hole for setting this boundary? I would ask this to her. Do I call you in the middle of the night on the nights when I have him? Not the a-hole. I would also argue that, with the exception of 24 hours, he's just as much a single father as she is a single mother. He has the baby 3 days a week, meaning she has him for 4. Do all the really big single-parent things happen in that last 24 hours? Unless OP lives with his parents or has 24-hour care, I'd say he feels the strain of single parenthood just as much as she does. Not the a-hole. I'm 35, married and about to have our 3rd child. I don't even turn to my husband as much as she's calling you when something's going on with our kids. She needs to learn how to cope. Just to add, when we had our first baby, I was 25, and my husband and I separated for nearly a year and a half to go to therapy and work on things. I don't think I called him once in the middle of the night during that time. There were no emergencies, or I would have. But if I needed something at 2 a.m., I dragged my own butt out to get it, taking our son along if my mom wasn't already up. I looked on Google. I read parenting books. I asked my own mom for advice. I was working and going to college. If there was anything my husband needed to know, he found out the next day or at a reasonable hour. Being a new single mom is hard, I'll give her that, but your ex is being extremely needy and unfair to you. This isn't about the baby. It seems like she's just trying to do anything to keep you on the hook. You're already doing so much at such a young age. I truly commend you for being a great dad and stepping up. You deserve to have a good night's rest and set boundaries. You deserve to have a life and eventually move on. It's not healthy that she feels the need to call you every night. She might need to talk to her doctor about possibly having postpartum anxiety. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing for making my half-sister cry? My half-sister is 11 and I'm 15. My parents divorced when I was really young, and my dad got my half-sister's mom pregnant a while after. They didn't get together for real until my half-sister was 3. And then my mom died, so I went to live with the 3 of them. My dad had more kids with my half-sister's mom. I don't know why, but 2 or 3 years ago, my half-sister started telling me I was dumb and stupid and that her mom was my mom. She said it was weird for me to talk about someone else being my mom. I told my dad, and he went and talked to her, but it didn't help. She got worse. She said my mom was just some dead woman, and that her mom was being my mom. I told my dad more times, and he talked to her more times, but it didn't help. So last week, she said the same stuff again, and I told her I have a mom, and she died, but she's my real mom, not hers. She said she isn't my real mom because she died before I was an adult, and that made her mom my mom. She called me a dumbass for not understanding that it works that way. So I told her that if she died before I turn 18, she's not my real sister anymore, and I'll remember that so I don't call her that anymore. She started crying, and her mom heard and asked what had happened. She told her what I said, and her mom told me I didn't need to be a jerk and that she's only 11. I said she told me my mom wasn't my real mom because she died before I turned 18, so I'm just making sure she knows the same will be true if she dies. When my dad got home, he talked to us both and then asked me to apologize and to understand why I was wrong. He said she's younger than me and I really hurt her feelings. I said I didn't care about her feelings and she doesn't care about mine. He told me she still has more learning to do, and if I don't apologize, this will always be between us, even when she does learn. I didn't apologize, and my dad's disappointed, but he said he accepted my stance. My half-sibling's mom, though, she's saying I need to be grounded for not apologizing and for not caring that I hurt my half-sister. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, although I suspect that she's heard it from your stepmom. I could be wrong, obviously, but in my experience, kids repeat whatever they've heard from their parents, especially such a hateful thing. Not the a-hole. Your half-sister and her mom need to understand that just because someone is related to you doesn't automatically make them your family. It takes love, respect, and effort to build a real familial bond. Plus, it's not fair for your half-sister to invalidate your real mother's memory. If they want you to apologize, they should apologize for their hurtful comments towards you first. Not the a-hole. Your half-sister repeatedly disrespected your late mom, despite being told to stop. And while your response was harsh, it was a reaction to her cruelty. An apology should come after she acknowledges how deeply she hurt you first, not just because she's younger. Your dad's right that this rift won't heal without mutual understanding, but that starts with her learning empathy, not you swallowing your grief to keep the peace. I don't know if my dad's going to do everything he can to make her learn it. From what I can see, he expects me to compromise and make it seem okay. But it really isn't, and it's not bringing us closer together like my half-sister wants, but it's making me want to spend as little time as possible with her.